pizza delivery almost got me killed, and I still do not know who was in that house, or what they wanted, or why they called for help using a pizza order. But I know one thing for certain: someone was in that house with a dead body, and they wanted someone to find it. This happened about 5 years ago when I was working as a delivery driver for a local pizza place called Marco's on the south side of town. It was not glamorous work, but the tips were decent enough to pay my rent and keep gas in my car. I got to drive around listening to music most of the time, which was better than standing behind a register dealing with angry customers. The job was simple: take the pizza, drive to the address, collect the money, move on to the next one. I worked nights because the pay was slightly better compared to days. They gave us an extra $1 per hour for working past 10 p.m. Honestly, I did not mind it. I have always been a night person anyway. Most deliveries were to college kids ordering food after studying, or people getting off late shifts at the hospital or the factory. Nothing unusual, nothing that ever made me uncomfortable, until that night. It was a Saturday night in late October, around 11:30. I was about to close up and clean the delivery bags when we got a last-minute order. Just one large pepperoni pizza. The address was way out on the edge of town, almost in the county area where the houses got sparse and the roads turned from pavement to gravel. I was annoyed because it meant an extra 30 minutes of driving before I could go home and sleep. But a delivery was a delivery, and I needed the tip, so I loaded the pizza into the insulated bag, grabbed my phone and keys, and headed out. I loaded the pizza into my car and punched the address into my GPS. The route took me down a bunch of back roads I had never been on before, even though I had been delivering pizzas in this town for almost 2 years. The streetlights disappeared after a few miles. No more gas stations, no more houses with porch lights on. It was just my headlights cutting through the darkness and the trees pressing in close on both sides of the road. The GPS finally told me I was approaching the destination. I slowed down, looking for a house number or a mailbox or any sign of where I was supposed to turn. The address led me to this long gravel driveway that went back into the woods, disappearing into the darkness beyond my headlights. There was no mailbox at the entrance, no lights, no sign with a family name, nothing to indicate anyone actually lived back there. I hesitated, sitting there with my car idling at the mouth of that driveway. Something about it felt wrong. I had a bad feeling settling into my gut, that instinct that tells you to turn around and leave. But I had the pizza. I wanted to finish the delivery, get paid, and go home. So I ignored that feeling and pulled down the driveway slowly, branches scraping the sides of my car. After about a minute of driving through the trees, I saw a house, or what was left of one. It was small and old, probably built in the 70s and never updated. The paint was peeling off in long strips, the roof sagged in the middle, there were no lights on inside, no car in the driveway, no sign that anyone had been there in years. It looked completely abandoned, like one of those houses you see in horror movies right before something terrible happens. I parked my car and sat there for a moment, staring at the dark house. Every instinct in my body was screaming at me to leave, to just drive away and tell my boss the address was wrong. But I needed the money, and I had come all this way. So I grabbed the pizza and got out of the car, leaving the engine running just in case I needed to leave fast. I walked up to the front door, my footsteps loud on the wooden porch that creaked under my weight. There was no doorbell, so I knocked. 3 solid knocks. Then I waited. Nothing. Just silence and the sound of wind moving through the trees. I knocked again. Louder this time. Harder. Still nothing. No footsteps inside. No lights turning on. No voice calling out that they would be right there. I pulled out my phone to call the number on the order. That was when I noticed something that made my blood run cold. The order had been placed under the name Help Me, Not a real name, not John or Sarah or Smith. Just help me. 2 words that should not have been in a customer's name. I stared at the screen, my stomach turning. That could not be right. Someone at the shop must have mistyped it. Or maybe it was a prank. Some kids were messing around, trying to waste my time and get a free pizza. But then I heard a sound from inside the house. A thump, like something heavy landing on the floor or being dropped. I froze anyway, but my hand was still holding the phone. I called out and asked if anyone was home. My voice sounded too loud in the silence. No response. Just that terrible, thick silence that makes your ears ring. Then another thump. This one was louder, more deliberate. I should have left right then. I should have gotten in my car and driven away as fast as I could. I should have called the police and told them something was wrong at this address, but something made me try the door handle. Maybe curiosity, maybe stupidity, maybe something deeper that I cannot explain. The door was unlocked. It swung open with a long, low creak. The smell hit me immediately. It was rotten, thick, sweet, and wrong, like spoiled meat left in the sun for days. I covered my nose with my shirt and took a step back, gagging, but then I heard that sound again. That thump from inside. So I pushed the door open wider and stepped inside, using my phone flashlight to see. The house was dark and filthy, old furniture covered in dust, garbage on the floor, empty food containers, newspapers stacked in corners. The smell got worse the deeper I went, and then I saw something in the corner of the room. A person sitting in a chair facing away from me. They were not moving. Not at all. I called out again, asking if they were okay. My voice was shaking. No answer. Just that terrible stillness. I took a step closer, and I could see their head was tilted back at an unnatural angle. Their mouths were open. Their skin was gray. They were not breathing. I realized with horror that I was looking at a dead body. A woman, maybe in her 60s, wearing a nightgown, sitting in that chair like she had just fallen asleep and never woken up. I backed up fast, my heart slamming against my ribs. My hands were shaking. I turned to leave, to get out of that house and call the police, and that was when I heard footsteps upstairs. Slow, heavy footsteps, deliberate, like someone walking across the floor, someone who knew I was there, someone who had been waiting. I did not wait to find out who it was. I did not call out. I did not investigate. I ran. I bolted out the front door, jumped in my car, threw it in reverse, and floored it down that driveway. Branches scraped my car. I did not care. I just needed to get away from that house, away from that body, away from whoever was upstairs. I hit the main road and kept driving, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the steering wheel. I called the cops as soon as I felt like I could breathe again and told them everything. The address, the pizza order, the name, help me, the dead body, the footsteps upstairs. The dispatcher told me to stay calm and meet them at the station to give a statement. She said officers were being sent to the house immediately. When I got to the station, I was shaking. I could not stop. I explained the whole situation to the officer at the desk. The order, the abandoned house, the body in the chair, the footsteps upstairs. He took notes and told me to wait. So I sat in that waiting area for hours. Other people came and went. I just sat there, replaying everything in my head. The smell, the body, the footsteps, the feeling that someone had been watching me the entire time I was in that house. When a detective finally came to talk to me, he looked grim, tired, like he had seen something he wished he had not. He told me they found a body in the house, A woman in her 60s, just like I described. She had been dead for at least 3 days based on the condition of the body. Natural causes, they thought, heart attack or stroke. She lived alone. No family nearby. No one to check on her. But there was no sign of anyone else in the house. No footprints in the dust besides mine and the officers. No evidence of another person. No forced entry. Nothing. They checked the pizza order, and it had been placed from an untraceable number. A burner phone, probably bought with cash and thrown away. The order was placed online using a fake email address. No way to trace it back to anyone. The detective asked me if I was sure I had heard footsteps. He said it in a way that made me feel like he thought I was making it up, or that I had imagined it because I was scared. I told him I was sure. I heard them. Slow, heavy footsteps walking across the floor upstairs. Someone was in that house. I did not imagine it. He did not say anything for a long moment, just nodded slowly and told me I could go home. He gave me his card and said to call if I remembered anything else. I quit the delivery job the next day. I called my boss and told him I was done. He tried to talk me out of it, said it was just a weird situation, said I was one of his best drivers, but I could not go back. I could not drive down dark roads at night wondering if the next delivery would lead me to another house like that. Another body, another person hiding upstairs. But the story does not end there. About a week later, I got a call from the detective. He said they had been investigating the house and the woman who died, trying to figure out who placed that pizza order, trying to understand what happened. He said they found something. The woman had a son. He was in his 40s. He had a history of mental illness and drug problems. He used to live with her, but had been kicked out years ago. She had a restraining order against him. They brought him in for questioning. He denied everything, said he had not been to the house in years, but they found his fingerprints on the railing upstairs. I will never forget the night a man tried to break into my gas station while I was working alone. It was one of those experiences that changes how you see the world, how you see people, how you understand that some things cannot be explained, and how you realize that evil does not always announce itself with violence. Sometimes it just stands there, watching and waiting. This happened about 3 years ago when I was working the graveyard shift at a 24-hour gas station on Route 9. The shift ran from 11 at night until 7 in the morning. 8 hours of pure isolation in a building that felt smaller with every passing hour. The pay was garbage, barely above minimum wage, but I needed the money desperately. I was between jobs, behind on rent, and this was the only place hiring that did not require experience or ask too many questions. Most nights were dead quiet, just me, the harsh fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like angry insects, and the occasional trucker stopping for coffee and cigarettes around 3 or 4 in the morning. The station sat completely alone on a long stretch of highway with nothing but dense woods on both sides. No other buildings for miles, no houses, no streetlights, just darkness and trees that seemed to press closer to the road with every sunset. After midnight, sometimes an hour would go by without a single vehicle passing. It was the kind of quiet that makes you hear every little sound, every creak of the building settling, every gust of wind rattles the windows, every rustle in the trees could be anything. It was a Tuesday night in October when things got weird. I remember the date because it was 2 days before Halloween, and we had those cheap plastic decorations taped to the windows. So I clocked in at 11 like always, and my coworker Danny was wrapping up his evening shift. Danny had been working at that station for about 5 years. He was one of those guys who knew everything about the place. He knew the routine. He knew the regular customers by name. He knew how to handle the drunks and the weirdos who sometimes stumbled in looking for trouble or just someone to talk to. Danny was normally the laid-back type who would hang around after his shift ended and chat with me for about 20 minutes or more before finally leaving. We would talk about sports, complain about our boss, and make plans to grab beers on our days off. Normal coworker stuff. But that night, he grabbed his jacket fast and headed straight for the door. No conversation, no usual handshake we always did when switching shifts, not even a single joke or comment about how slow the evening had been. Nothing. I asked him if everything was okay, because I could tell there's something about the way he moved, rushed and tense, that made my stomach tighten. So he stopped with his hand on the door handle and turned around. His face looked different today, worried, maybe even scared. That was not like Danny at all. Danny did not get rattled. But right then, he looked rattled. He told me that some random guy had been hanging around the parking lot for the past hour, just standing by the air pump near the edge of the lot, staring at the store, not moving, not using his phone, not pumping air into tires, not doing anything a normal person would do, just standing there in the glow of the security light, watching the building like he was studying something. Danny said he went out twice to ask if the guy needed help or if something was wrong with his vehicle. Both times, the man just stared at him without saying a word. He did not acknowledge the question. He did not even seem to register that Danny was speaking to him, just stared with this blank, empty expression that made Danny uncomfortable. After the second time Danny went out, the guy finally walked off slowly toward the woods on the east side of the property. Danny had not seen him since, but he said it creeped him out. He said something about how the guy felt wrong, off, broken in some way he could not put into words. He told me to keep the doors locked tonight. Then he left. Just like that. Got in his car and drove off faster than I had ever seen him leave before. I stood there for a moment, watching his taillights disappear down the highway until they were just red dots swallowed by the darkness. Then I looked out at the empty parking lot, the woods beyond it. The thick, impenetrable darkness seemed to be watching me back. I felt something cold settle in my chest, a warning my body was giving me that my brain had not caught up to yet. I went ahead and locked the front door like Danny suggested. I turned the deadbolt and tested it twice. Technically, we were supposed to keep it unlocked for customers since we were a 24-hour operation. Company policy. But screw that policy. I was not risking it. Not after seeing the look on Danny's face. If someone wanted something, they could knock or use the night window on the side of the building where I could pass items through a slot without opening any doors. I did my usual opening tasks for the night shift, trying to keep my hands busy and my mind occupied. Restocked the cooler with drinks and beer, making sure the labels faced forward the way the corporation wanted. Around midnight, I was standing behind the counter, scrolling through my phone, reading random articles to pass the time and distract myself from the silence, when I heard a tapping sound on the front window, light at first, then a bit louder. Tap, tap, tap. Deliberate, intentional. I looked up from my phone. A man was standing outside, just a few feet from the glass door, pressing his face against the window. My heart stopped, just for a second. You know that moment when your body recognizes danger before your mind can process it? He was maybe in his 40s, though it was hard to tell because something about him looked worn down, used up. He was wearing a dirty gray hoodie with the hood pulled up, but I could still see his face clearly under the bright lights of the parking lot. His skin looked pale, unwashed, like he had not seen sunlight or soap in a while. His eyes were wide open, unblinking, just staring directly at me. Not at the store, not at the products on the shelves. At me, like I was the only thing in the world that mattered to him. His nose and forehead were pressed flat against the glass, distorting his features in a way that made him look less than human. I felt my stomach drop. That cold, sick feeling you get when your body knows something is very, very wrong before your brain catches up. I pressed the intercom button, my fingers shaking slightly, and called out asking what he wanted. My voice came out shakier than I intended, higher pitched. He did not respond, did not move. He just kept staring with his face pressed against that glass like he was trying to see through me, through my skin, into whatever was underneath. After about 10 seconds, that felt like 10 minutes, he finally stepped back from the window, slowly, deliberately, without breaking eye contact for even a fraction of a second. Then he turned and walked around the side of the building toward the restrooms. The restrooms were on the outside of the building, accessible from the parking lot. Customers did not need to come inside to use them. They were just around the corner, out of my direct line of sight, which meant he could not get into the main store from there. But I still felt deeply uneasy. Something about the way he moved, the way he stared, the way he existed. It all felt wrong. I moved quickly to the security monitor that we kept behind the counter. It was an old system with 4 grainy camera feeds displayed on a small screen. One showed the parking lot and gas pumps. One showed the side of the building where the restrooms were. One showed the back delivery area. And one showed the inside of the store where I was standing. So I watched the monitor that displayed the side of the building, my eyes locked on the screen. I saw him walk to the restroom door, but he did not go in. He just stood there in front of the door for a moment, perfectly still, like he was thinking about something. Then he turned his head slowly and looked directly at the camera. Not near the camera, not in the general direction of the camera, directly at the camera lens. Like he knew exactly where it was. Like he wanted me to know that he knew I was watching him. My skin crawled. I had a terrible feeling that this was not over, that this was just beginning. A few minutes passed, and I did not see him come back around to the front. I watched all the camera feeds, switching between them, trying to track his movement. I figured maybe he actually used the restroom and left. Maybe he walked back into the woods like he did with Danny. Maybe he was gone and I was just being paranoid. But then I saw movement on the parking lot camera feed. He was standing behind one of the gas pumps. Pump number 3. Just standing there, perfectly still, staring at the building, at the windows, at me. I felt my chest tighten. My breathing got shallow. This went on for at least 15 minutes. I watched him on the monitor, unable to look away. He would move from pump to pump, from 3 to 5, from 5 to 2, from 2 to 6, always staying partially hidden behind the pumps, always watching, never coming closer to the building, never leaving the property, just moving, watching, waiting, like he was circling, like a predator studying prey before deciding when to strike. I thought about calling the cops, but what would I even say? Some guy is standing in a public parking lot? That was not illegal. He had not threatened me. He had not tried to break in. He had not done anything except stand there and stare. The cops would probably tell me there was nothing they could do unless he actually did something. And by the time they arrived, he would probably be gone anyway. Just another weird night at a gas station on a lonely highway. But every instinct in my body was screaming that something was very wrong with this person. The way he moved, the way he stared, the way he did not act like a normal human being. There was something off, something fundamentally broken. And whatever was wrong with him, it was focused entirely inside the store. Around 1 in the morning, I saw headlights pull into the lot, a big pickup truck. Relief flooded through me so intensely that I almost felt dizzy. He was a regular customer, a guy named Diego who drove long-haul trucks for a living. He stopped in every few nights around this time to fuel up and grab coffee and snacks before hitting the road again. I knew him. He knew me. We were friendly. I had never been so relieved to see another human being in my entire life. I unlocked the front door quickly to let him in, my hands fumbling with the deadbolt. I was so grateful to have another person there. Someone else. A witness. Backup. Another set of eyes. Someone who could confirm I was not losing my mind. Diego was a big guy. Probably 6'2", solid build. The kind of person who looked like he could handle himself in any situation. He had worked construction for 20 years before becoming a trucker. He walked in with his usual friendly smile, but it faded immediately when he saw my face. I must have looked terrified. He asked me if I was all right. Then I told him everything, about the guy pressing his face against the window, about how he had been standing in the parking lot for the past hour, about how he kept moving from pump to pump, just watching, about how something felt very, very wrong about him. Diego looked through the window, scanning the parking lot and the gas pumps carefully. He did not see anyone. The man was gone. He told me I should call the cops anyway, just to have it on record, just in case this escalated. I agreed. I should have done it earlier. Diego said he would wait with me until they arrived. He grabbed a large coffee from the machine and some chips and beef jerky from the snack aisle, paid for it, and we stood there near the counter talking. He was trying to keep things light, trying to calm me down and distract me from the fear, talking about his route, about traffic he hit the interstate, about nothing important, just filling the silence. That was when we both heard a loud bang on the back door. The sound echoed through the whole building. Sharp, violent, unmistakable, like someone had kicked it with full force, with the intent to break it. Diego and I both froze. We stared at each other across the counter. His expression had changed completely. The casual friendliness was gone. The relaxed trucker making small talk had vanished. Now he looked alert, tense, ready. His whole body language shifted into something harder, more dangerous. The back door was in the storage room, behind the main store area. It was a heavy metal door that we used for deliveries. Vendors and delivery drivers would knock during the day, and we would open it to receive shipments of drinks, snacks, cigarettes, lottery tickets, whatever the store needed. That door was always locked from the inside with a deadbolt. Only employees had the key, and there was absolutely no reason for anyone to be back there at 1 in the morning. No deliveries happened at night. Not here. Diego told me I should call the cops right now. Not wait, not to think about it. Do not debate whether it was serious enough. Just call. His voice was firm, commanding. The voice of someone who had been in bad situations before and knew when things were about to get worse. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands, and as I was unlocking the screen to dial, we heard another bang. This time it was louder, more forceful, the sound of something solid hitting metal with serious strength, with purpose. Then another bang, and another, each one louder than the last. Someone was trying to break down that door, and they were not stopping. Diego moved toward the storage room without hesitation. I yelled at him not to go back there. He should stay with me, but he said he just wanted to see what was happening. He wanted to assess the situation, to know what we were dealing with. He pushed open the door that led from the main store into the storage room. I could hear him swear loudly. A string of curses I will not repeat. Words I had never heard Diego use before. And Diego was a trucker. He swore all the time. But this was different. This was a shock. Fear, even. He came back out fast, moving quicker than I had ever seen a man his size move. His face was pale, drained of color. He told me the guy was out there kicking the metal door and it was starting to crack. He said the door was bending inward, warping. He said whoever this person was, he was strong, unnaturally strong, and he was not stopping, not slowing down, not getting tired, just kicking, over and over, with mechanical precision. I finished dialing 911, and the operator answered on the second ring. I told her what was happening as calmly as I could, though my voice was shaking so badly I could barely get the words out. I gave her the address of the gas station. I told her someone was trying to break in through the back door, that we were locked inside, and we needed help immediately, that this person was not normal. She said officers were on the way, and to stay calm and stay away from the back of the building. She told me to stay on the line with her. Her voice was professional, soothing, trained to keep people from panicking. But I could hear something else underneath it. Urgency. She knew this was serious, but then the banging stopped. Just like that. Mid-kick. Everything went completely silent. Diego and I just stood there in the middle of the store, listening, holding our breath, straining to hear anything, any sound, any movement. I could hear my heartbeat pounding in my ears like a drum. I could hear the hum of the refrigerators behind me. I could hear the operator on the phone asking if we were still there, but nothing from the back door. No footsteps, no breathing, nothing. It was somehow worse than the banging, because now I did not know where he was, what he was doing, if he was coming around to the front, if he had given up, if he was waiting. I felt like I was being hunted, like I was prey and he was circling just outside my field of vision. I told the operator yes, we were still there. I told her the banging had stopped, but we did not know where the person had gone. She said officers were 2 minutes away from us, just 2 minutes. A few minutes later, we saw red and blue lights pull into the parking lot. 2 police cruisers coming in fast. 4 officers got out, and I unlocked the front door to let them in. My hands shaking so badly I almost could not work the deadbolt. I explained everything that happened. About the man staring through the window earlier. About him standing in the parking lot for over an hour just watching me. About the banging on the back door. About how it sounded like he was trying to kick it down with inhuman strength. About how it just stopped suddenly. The officers took it seriously. I could see it in their faces. This was not just another paranoid gas station worker calling about a homeless person. 2 of them went around to the back of the building immediately with their flashlights and hands on their weapons. The other 2 stayed inside with us and asked more questions. What did he look like? What was he wearing? Did I get a good look at his face? Had I ever seen him before? Did he say anything? Did he threaten me directly? I answered as best I could, my words tumbling out faster than I could organize them. Gray hoodie, pale skin, wide, unblinking eyes. In his 40s maybe. No. I had never seen him before tonight. No, he never said a word. Not a single word the entire time. He just stared. But the way he stared, it felt like a threat. It felt like violence waiting to happen. When the 2 officers came back in from checking the back, they looked concerned, genuinely concerned. One of them was older, maybe close to retirement, and he had seen everything in his career, but even he looked unsettled. They told me the door had serious damage. There were dents in the solid metal, deep dents. The frame was bent, warped inward, like someone had been kicking it repeatedly, with impossible force, but the person was gone, vanished. They searched the area around the building. They walked into the woods with their flashlights, calling out, checking behind trees, looking for footprints or any sign of where he went. They searched for 15 minutes. Thorough, professional. They found nothing. No footprints in the dirt, no broken branches, no sign of anyone, no vehicle parked nearby on the side roads, nothing. One of the officers, the younger one, said it was like the person had just vanished into thin air. He said it loud enough that I could hear him talking to his partner outside, and I could tell from his tone that it bothered him, that it did not make sense, that something about this whole situation felt wrong to him too. They came back inside and stayed for a while as they filed a report. They took photos of the back door with their phones, close-ups of the dents, the bent frame, the damage that should not have been possible from a human kick. They wrote down my statement and Diego's statement in detail. They asked if I wanted to press charges if they found the person. I said yes, absolutely yes. They told me if the guy came back, I should call 911 immediately. Do not wait. Do not confront him. Do not try to talk to him or reason with him. Just call. They said this person was clearly dangerous, clearly unstable, and clearly fixated on this location, or on me specifically.